This is Dr. James Wand speaking, otherwise Dr. James Wand Dutch in full. And today's date is Wednesday, 10th of December 2025. It's also United Nations Human Rights Day today. And I've made some videos earlier today about the atrocities committed by the local Coventry courts. In fact, all of them, starting off with the magistrates' courts in Coventry, then the Coventry Family Court in Coventry, the Coventry Crown Court in Coventry, and also more recently the Coventry County Court, which rendered me homeless and forced me to sleep rough in my car for plus 13 months. So that's the atrocities. And the Coventry Crown Court, by the way, they imprisoned me and made me serve 3 year hellhole sentence for Section 20 GBH when I went back to check up on my kids, and I was just naively take some of my items in the family house and return back to my mother's house at the time. And sadly, my mother passed away this year. I should mention that to my viewers. She died at a care home in Balsall Common. That's the Harperfields care home, and that's where she was being kept. And she sustained a hip injury there, a fracture, whilst she was kept there. That's also got to be mentioned. And she died from what I've been told is pneumonia, a stroke, and dementia. That's what's been quoted to me, and that's the cause of her death. But she died only at the age of 81. That's not that long, actually. The people who live a lot longer than that. And she died 4 years after her extraction from the family house, the council house that I used to live at, and which was seized later on the 26th of April 2023 by Coventry County Court orders. And that's where she used to live. They removed her from the house. She was the main tenant, and they took her out and never returned her back, basically, and put her in care homes. And I've got to mention the bugging noise, the incident that made me initially paint on the Vauxhall Brandish dealers wall that was on Vine Street. I've put down in graffiti, "Spy pigs out." Obviously, it's very annoying initially when it did happen, when the noise was turned on, the ambient background noise, just to constantly remind people that they're there secretly, covertly watching you 24/7, etc., and monitoring you, and you've got no privacy. So they've invaded your privacy, and that's obviously a violation of your human rights. So that's how annoyed I was. But obviously, I'm not sure what others did. Some people might have done even worse things, and they did obviously have repercussions. That background ambient noise, it did disturb a lot of people, and including myself. I've admitted to it, and it made you do things, it perturbed you to do things that you wouldn't normally do because of that psychological warfare that was going on, and it's still going on to the present day. And it does remind me of a kind of an operation that took place in Americas, in Panama, in Central America in particular, a country known of Panama, if you can recall, which is in Central America. And back in 1989, the American government were in pursuit of General Manuel Noriega, and they basically trapped him. He's with the U.S. military, and he had nowhere to go, nowhere to escape, and he sought refuge in a Vatican building and a missionary building, and obviously under international law they can't just invade that. So he sought refuge there when the whole city was surrounded with U.S. military, the Delta Force team, the U.S. Navy SEALs, etc. And they had a program called Operation Nifty, and that was basically sort of a psychological warfare, and where they played constantly 24/7 loud music, very loud music, music from AC/DC, You Shook Me All Night Long, for instance, Guns N' Roses, Welcome to the Jungle, and also music from the Clashes, I Fought the Law. And after 10 days of being bombarded with that noise, obviously you couldn't sleep. It was obviously being tortured through the sound waves, through the airwaves. and really on full blast. He surrendered after 10 days on the 3rd of January 1990. That's Manuel Noriega from Panama, who's born in Panama City, by the way. So that's the Americans there. So they did that, obviously, Operation Nifty. But what's going on here in Coventry is kind of a similar in a role to that sort of thing, but obviously the reverse. It's on a whisper mode. So the background noise that I'm hearing, and that's been going on since, like I said, 1998 onwards, maybe 2000 onwards, officially, kind of since 6th of December 2025 anyway, since I really noticed it and paid attention to it. I would say is a whisper mode version of Operation Nifty, obviously through the airwaves, and obviously sound is a longitudinal wave, and it needs a medium to travel in, either air or even liquids or gases, etc., metals, solids, etc. And obviously the speed is different on depending on the medium, and obviously in a vacuum the sound can't actually travel, and that's why in space you won't be able to hear any sound, because that's basically a vacuum there. There's no medium there, so if there's no medium, it doesn't propagate the sound. Sound is essentially compression waves, rarefactions and compressions, and for sound to travel, it requires a medium. So that's the technical side of things on the scientific point. So obviously, even if the sound is being monitored, beamed down or something, or focused at whereabouts you are, if they've got a fix on you or something, your location, maybe from thermal imaging or some other device, whatever monitoring methods they're using, or if they've got cameras or some other devices to track you. So obviously you're being tracked and in real time, and then they're using the sounds at the same time from the mic, from the monitoring staff that are doing that to cause psychological warfare, and obviously damage in many cases, annoying them as well, frustrating them, and to do things that they would not normally do. And to the extent of someone like me even painting graffiti on the wall, spy pigs. That Vauxhall Brandish deal was eventually knocked down and turned into a student accommodation called the Cycle Works on Vine Street. So Vauxhall Brandish themselves moved away near the Gallagher Retail Park. That's where they're relocated. They've been there ever since. But in the old days, they were there, and that's where I used to live in Vine Street. And that's the house they seized, incidentally, from me through Coventry County Court, Citizen Housing Group based in Birmingham. And they obviously rendered me homeless and forced me to sleep rough in my car. And they didn't even give me a place of abode, and turned to a place of abode to go to. That's how draconian and vile and evil they've been over here. So I want the whole world to know what's going on here. So whatever clandestine methods are going on, I'm not saying they're exactly Operation Nifty, but they are very similar in tactics. It is psychological warfare, but on whisper mode. So that's the big difference. Even whisper mode can be annoying after a sustained amount of length of time. There's, like I said, 25 years at least. I can recall it's been there in the background, and that's military presence there. Obviously, and I don't think they're protecting people. And obviously, that's their motto. The police's motto, to protect and serve. But obviously, they might be protecting some people in some cases. The presence, it might be deterring people. It might be a deterrent in that respect. Not to do something. They're constantly being monitored. Someone, the neighbours or something, might be up to something, and it could be doing things beneficial like that. But I don't think it's necessarily helpful at all. They're not a security sort of thing. If they want to put bobbies on the beat or something, on security staff on the streets, they don't seem to be employing people like that. It's not, you don't feel necessarily safer with them. It's just perverse behaviour, voyeurism, and your privacy. That's what's been invaded. You don't have no privacy at all, and you're treated like animals. At the end of the day, you don't really have any UN human rights, and even today, I'm talking on Human Rights Day, so that's what's being violated, and that's what's been going on, and it's akin to Operation Nifty when they removed Manuel Noriega from Panama with the U.S. military. It's akin to that, but they're doing it on I think mass surveillance sort of methods. So obviously it is military kind of police sort of thing going on. The operatives, I can't talk for them. They're obviously being paid. the monitoring staff end of the day, and they do talk rubbish quite often. Chicken and chips, scallop batch. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Oh my God, I can't. You can hear them literally talking on the mic, things like that in the background, coming out with all sorts of literally rubbish uh, information, and they're not really helping people. And if they wanted to help people, they could fit proper security equipment, couldn't they? And cameras and things that are outside, non-invasive. And obviously, this is non-invasive. What technology they're using, but through airwaves, obviously, constantly reminding people that they hear that background noise from on the mic, and like I mentioned, but on whisper mode. So that's the key difference here, whisper mode. But you have to you have to sustain that sort of level of psychological warfare, and that's been going on. Like I said, it could be causing psychological effects such as uh, the Lima effect in Peru, and the Japanese embassy staff were kind of kidnapped. And initial reaction there was hatred and anger towards the kidnappers, and that's what probably did happen. And then later on, it maybe became something like the Stockholm effect. That was in a similar sort of kidnapping, but there the effect was the kidnappers had apathy from their hostages and sympathy, and that's what's probably happened. Eventually, over time, people have grown to them and almost become numb. And there's also a London effect as well. That's another psychological effect when there's hostages and kidnappers involved. And that's what you are essentially. You're hostages and you're under siege. It's entrapment end of the day. And it's like a siege situation where when Manuel Noriega was um, trapped in the Vatican missionary building, which is international law. It protected. That's why they couldn't just go in and capture him there. And they used psychological warfare, loud music, very loud music, heavy metal. In fact, AC/DC and Guns N' Roses, like I mentioned, etc. You shook me all night long. Welcome to the jungle. The Clashes also. I fought the law. That was played full blast, and the guy couldn't really sleep. He surrendered after 10 days, so they captured him like that. But I'm not sure what their motive is here with the civilians in Coventry, England, UK, on the 52nd Power Run North latitude. I don't know what it is, but it's been going on around 1998 onwards, 2000 onwards. So it is a war crime in a way. And why don't they put people like that and take them to Nuremberg, and have court cases there? They don't seem to. And obviously, there's a Hague as well in Netherlands, and William Hague didn't win the election, by the way. So maybe they don't want that happening. They don't want these people, um, under the scrutiny of justice. So taken out, by legal methods, but they're being allowed to get away scot free, and that is kind of torturous behaviour. And like I said, they've killed people almost certainly. And Rod, for instance, that's an example when he climbed up the roof to probably investigate. Almost certainly, it sounds like that. In my case, anyway, my personal belief, he must have been doing something like that. Where else would he go up the roof? And it was going on around that sort of time, and the background noise. Anyway, that's all I can say. And that is disturbing. Even on whisper mode level, it can be disturbing. And your privacy is invaded, and people do react in all sorts of manners. And one of my methods was obviously of annoyance is just to put graffiti on the wall, and that wall was knocked down. That made me turn up to the magistrate's court 5 times for that offence, and I had to pay a court fine. I think it was around £200 or something as well out of my own pocket. That's how mean and nasty they've been. And even when for my Crown Court case, when I was imprisoned, even when I left prison, I had to pay a court fine there as well. So they took money off me as well. So I let my viewers know there. They're not just imprisoned me; they took money off me, and they took time off me as well. So that's horrendous what's going on with me. And if you're out there, if you're under similar circumstances, and obviously I'm sympathetic towards you, and I understand obviously, but I don't know what civilians like me could do. This is an atrocities that are going on by the officials here, and mostly military and police, etc., and even NHS. So do remember, take care.